Okay, my directions ask me to solve this equation. So I'm going to try to solve this by factoring. So I'm going to get this in standard form, meaning I'm going to get everything on one side and set it equal to 0. To do that, I need to move the 6. I'm going to subtract it, and I need to subtract it from my constant term. So that makes 0. So I get 6n squared minus 18n minus 24 equals 0. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is basically the same thing I did in Unit 10. I'm going to factor the left side, that expression on the left. Okay, I have a greatest monomial factor here. Actually, thank God. Look, I can take the 6 out. 6 goes into 18 and 24. That's going to make this way easier to solve. So we're going to go ahead and divide this side by 6. Factor out the 6. When you divide this side by 6, you have to do it to every term. So the 6 will come out front. I'm left with n squared minus 3n minus 4 equals 0. Okay. Next, I'm going to see if I can't break this down a little further. Okay, they need to multiply to be negative 4, and their sum is negative 3. So when the leading coefficient is 1, these are very easy. It's just n times n, and then to get negative 4, well, that could be either 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. So I don't have a lot of choices here, so it should make it easy. It's negative, so if it's negative, to multiply to be a negative, you have 1 positive and 1 negative. And if the signs are different, when you're finding the sum, you are really subtracting them. So that leaves us with the first choice. The difference between 1 and 4 is 3. My middle term, my sum is negative, so that means the larger one was negative. So this one's 4 and this one's 1. Okay, so when you're solving by factoring, what you're doing is you're finding all the factors that leave you with 0, okay, whose product is 0. Well, the 0 product of multiplication says if you're multiplying these 3 things, all right, because there's parentheses here, that's what you're doing. It's 6 times this sum times this difference. If you're multiplying these 3 to get 0, one of them must be 0. So what you're going to do is set all these equal to 0. Okay, 6 cannot be 0, so that can't be the one that's 0, but we do have to consider, you know, because if there was, like, for example, 6x, then you would set it equal to 0. So in this case, our factor 6 was not the one that was 0. Let's try this one. Well, n plus 1 could have been 0. So if that sum was 0, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides to solve. That gives me n plus 0, which is n equals negative 1. So that's one of my solutions. My other choice here was that n minus 4, the difference here was 0. And if that was the case, we're going to go ahead and solve by adding 4 to both sides. That makes this cancel out. That's 0. So n plus 0 is just n equals 4. So if we write our answer as in set builder notation here, we would say, actually let me just write it as a solution set. Our solution here is negative 1 and 4. Notice I'm not putting parentheses. I'm not writing an ordered pair. This is not a point on a graph. It's my solution set. These are my 2 solutions. Okay, so let's check it. As always, there's absolutely no excuse to miss your solution ones. You can check them. Okay, so get out of here. Okay, so I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to have to do them one at a time. So first I'm going to do negative 1. So negative 1 store into my variable here is n. You know I like to use x all the time, but I don't want to confuse you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my very original equation. Remember, you always want to go back to the original equation. Alright, if you go here and there was a mistake that you made from here, you will not see it. So always check your original equation. So I'm going to enter the left, and I hope that I get 6. So 6 n squared minus 18n minus 18. And I got 6. Okay, now I'm not finished because all I did so far is check this solution. Now I need to check this solution. So I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to use 4. 4 store into n. If I go on top of this, I don't need to retype it. I can just hit enter and it will come up again. Alright, so let's hope we get 6. We did. So both our solutions are correct. It's a quadratic, second degree, so if I found 2 solutions, that's all I'm going to find.